The Redskin Review. This is our 6th show of the 2011 football season. It's being taped on Wednesday, September 28th. And in this show, we'll take a look back at the Redskins' 40-21 win over Northwest in Week 5. And we'll take a look at ahead at the first league game at Loveland this week. With me, as always, Dan Albers, Coach Jeff Giesting. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thanks.
And Coach, we really talked about it all year, even the win over Turpin, we talked about turnovers have such a big part in the game.
Yeah.
And for the first time all year, no turnovers, and it showed in this game.
Oh, believe me, it did. Yeah, it was definitely a relief not to turn the football over. I think we'd had 13 turnovers prior to that. So it was huge that we held on to the football, and we got a couple turnovers from them, especially the one they fumbled down on the goal line when they were getting ready to score. So turnovers have just been a major factor in our games this year, wins and losses, and hopefully we can hold on the ball this week.
The offense came up big with some quick strikes for the first time really all year. You had a long scoring pass right before halftime, and you had to lead off the scoring. Kamal Bradley took it 55 yards, scored quickly, and that was good to see.
It takes a little pressure off of the offense. You know, they've been kind of hot and cold all year, and some of that's due to the injuries and then the turnovers and things like that. So it was good to see Kamal get loose and get a long run and then the pass before the half. And anytime you get easy scores, it's helpful, and it lifts your team, and it's dejecting to the other team. And we've been on that side of it this year several times by giving up some big scores. So you know, it's something that you look for in a game. You don't always get it, but sometimes you get lucky with one.
The rushing game's kind of been maligned all year, but they had 252 yards on the ground the other night, by far their biggest game of the year. I really thought the offensive line played particularly well that night.
They played real well. And that was good. They finally had some continuity and got some things going. And I think another big factor was we played Ethan Stone a little bit of tailback, and he gives us a little quickness there. He's not a real big guy, but he really runs hard and he hits the hole quick, and it's a different dimension. He's hard to see sometimes, I think, and so I think that was a factor as well. Coaches had a good game plan, so yeah, we need to be able to run the ball effectively and throw effectively, and we were able to do that the other night.
Yeah, Kamal Bradley continues, I think, to improve at running back. He had the 55-yarder, as Greg said. He ended up with 12 carries, 138 yards, 2 touchdowns. But I think I've noticed that his improvement is it seems like he's hitting the hole more sure of himself. He's a little bit more quicker. He's not bouncing around as much as he was.
Yeah, I think he is. I think he's getting more comfortable.
Right.
And that takes time. He wasn't a running back last year. He did a little bit on JV at times, and then he got hurt in the JV game. Broke his leg, so he came back from a major injury, and he's really having a nice year for us. And I think he is getting more comfortable with the angles he needs to take and how patient he needs to be at times to run the ball and to make the right cuts. And so hopefully he continues to improve, because he's got some physical skills that, he's got a little bit of speed. Not like he's a burner, but he's fast enough that he can get away and get a 55-yarder, and he's strong enough he can break some tackles. So he's just going to get better and better, I hope.
Is that part of the being patient, is watching where the line's going? I know some of you guys do that.
Yeah.
Just watching that and trying to wait for it to develop a little bit and stuff?
Yeah, sometimes it is. I mean, we run a lot of inside zone and outside zone schemes, and sometimes the back has to wait on it a little bit. He has to press into the line of scrimmage to see how the defense is going to move and where they're going to be on the blocks of the linemen, and then they have to make a decisive cut. And you work on it and drill it over and over, and he's starting to get it now a little bit, and that's helpful. Sometimes we run the outside zone, your running back just wants to just keep running to the sideline, and then there's times though we really want him to cut it up and get north and south, and he's starting to figure that out.
You can continue to see Kevin Rogers with some playing time. He had 9 carries, 58 yards, touchdown, and we finally got to see him throw the ball.
Yeah.
Did a nice job, and you got to like that. He's got a bright future lined up at wide receiver, and I think it's really good what you're doing, moving him around.
Well, it's helping us because we get a better athlete on the field at times. We get a big kid on the field that can run a little bit, and he's a quarterback, so he can throw. And he did a nice job when he did throw it the other night, and a nice job running the ball. So he's, now he's having to learn the mental part of it of playing receiver, and he's not going to get all the little nuances of it this year, but he's got enough that he can still be an effective weapon for us, and give him some playing time and some varsity experience, because he'll probably be our quarterback the next couple of years, and it's important that he's comfortable in the game and understands what Coach Cook wants him to do, and I think he's getting there.
And Greg said Ethan Stone had a nice game coming back. He hasn't played that much. Is it injuries or just the matchups, or what? How's it been with him?
Well, he's been playing our FA position, and sometimes he's just overmatched physically at times, trying to block some of those guys. So we moved him back to tailback, and he's quick, and he's like I said, he's not a real big guy, but he's a tough kid, and he runs hard, and Stoney just really cares about our team and wants it to win, and he'll do anything we ask him to do. He's just one of our captains, and he's just been a great leader, and I think, we've just took us a little while to figure out exactly where we wanted to use him. Here and there, I think we were used to having that single tailback that ran it 25, 30 times a game, and we really don't have that kind of guy. I mean, Kamel can run it 12, 15, maybe 18, 20 times a game at the most, and I don't think Stoney can carry it more than about 10, 12 times a game either, and Tanner, and we don't have a guy that we can give it to 25 times like we had with Elijah and Slater and Jake Nelson, and so we're going to kind of have to keep looking at their individual talents and see where we can fit them in.
Nick Mason didn't throw any interceptions, which was a great thing to see,
Yeah.
but he had a really nice touchdown with Jared Cook right before the half. That was pretty big.
Yeah, Nick did a nice job. He kind of stayed within himself, took care of the football, managed the game pretty well. And, the throw he made before the half was very, very important to get us up
19-6.
19-6 at the half. Those two scores were big because they had moved the ball on us. And, defensively we hadn't played particularly well. I didn't think we just didn't tackle well. And the running back, he's a good player. I mean, he's fast, he's strong, and they do a nice job with their scheme. And their quarterback was enough of a threat that running the football as well that we had to defend both of them. So, we got out-athleted a little bit at times, but we kept plugging, and we got some big stops when we had to.
Jared Cook came into this game already the #1 receiver in the FAVC. Caught 6 more passes for 145 more yards, and he caught a touchdown pass, of course, that touchdown pass. Every game, all 5 games, he's caught a touchdown pass.
Yeah.
And I don't know when the last time we had a receiver do that, but he's really coming on.
He is. He's doing a lot of good things. Jared's hard to cover. He's got some burst and quickness, and he runs really good routes. The mental part of the game, because he's a young kid, is still a challenge to him at times. And we ask him to do a lot. We line him up a lot of different places, and that can be difficult. But he's really come on. He's really taken a lot of pride in his blocking. He's become a much better blocker on the perimeter for us, and we still got him for another year. So I think that year he got to play last year as a sophomore. We didn't have enough depth. He kind of got thrown in the mix. Has really benefited him this year because he's had a whole year of varsity experience, and he's making some plays for us.
One of the biggest plays of the game, if not the biggest play of the game, was when in the second half, Northwest had pulled within 5, I think, and we had the ball and we had the punt, and you called a fake punt and carried it off perfectly. Pass from Rogers to Kaiser, 58 yards.
Yeah.
That was just a big play executed to perfection. Did you see something before that led you to make that call? Or?
Yeah, we had talked about it earlier, and I just felt at that time they had taken the opening drive of the third quarter and just went down the field for about a 6-minute drive, and we had to get some momentum back. We couldn't just give the ball back to them. Our defense was a little tired, and we were about on the 40, 45-yard line, so we weren't in terrible field position if it didn't work. And fortunately, Coach Newton and Coach Bruns had saw some things, and they were pretty confident it was going to go. And Reed did a nice job of getting a little bit wide, so the guy that covering him couldn't get there. And Kevin
was big.
Kevin just laid it out there for him, and then Reed made a couple moves down the field, which was good. So. That was a big play for us, and we really had to have that, and I think that was a backbreaker for them.
Big time. You talk about you always want to have kind of a balanced offense. Yard-wise, you really did in this game. You had 228 yards in the air and 252 on the ground. That's about as even as you can get it. You had to be happy with that.
Yeah, very happy. If we can do those things, we're going to have a pretty good night offensively, and hopefully we can get the ball in the end zone and score some points. There's been games where we've got a lot of yards and not a lot of points, but fortunately we were able to score 33 offensive points, and then we had the defensive touchdown. So it was a really good night for our offense, and I think kind of a confidence builder for them. They came out and they really played well, and it was good they did that because defensively we were just kind of so-so. We weren't. We'd played pretty well defensively previously against the run, and we were just kind of so-so the other night.
The defense was on the field a long time the other night. I think the time of possession was 28 minutes for Northwest.
Yeah.
As you said, Turner, he was hard to bring down. He looked awful good.
He was. He's a good player. He's a real good player, and we did a pretty good job on first down, and then second down and long and third and long we didn't do a very good job of, and we let him out of the hole a few times, and. You're going to be on the field when someone's going to run the football like that, and we tried to play a lot of different guys, and I think previously in the 4 previous games we played a variety of kids on defense, so I think that did help with our depth, and we needed it.
Let's talk about the big interception that Jesse Crow had. That was huge on a screen pass, intercepted at 150 yards. More impressive was his dance in the end zone. I love that.
You like that?
I loved it. I know you probably
That
did.
was terrible.
I loved it.
I think it was very good. Well, anyway, he and Manny, I think it was Manny Anglam, smelled the screen out pretty well, and their quarterback still threw it, and all of a sudden I looked, and Jesse was taking off the other way with it, and he can run. I didn't think he was going to get caught, and then he had his
beautiful dance,
whatever it was, spinning around thing. Really
surprised that he get flagged.
I'm surprised. I guess it was bad enough the official couldn't tell it was a dance. I don't know. But it's always great when you get a defensive score, and especially in that game because we hadn't played as well as we wanted to, and Jesse came up with a big play for us.
But really, the last couple games, your kickers have done a great job. Chris Kaler and Corey Patterson both played pretty well.
Yeah, Chris made all his extra points and executed his kickoffs pretty much where we wanted them. And Corey Peterson did a nice job punting, which he has all year. Our snaps sometimes are an adventure, and he's an athletic enough kid. He can go catch it, and he's getting quicker, getting it off his foot, and he's going to be a nice punter for us.
Any injuries from this game?
Yeah, we got a few. Austin White dislocated his knee a little bit, kneecap, or hyperextended it a little bit. He's iffy for Friday. And Jason Zeleste, our safety, also has a bad ankle, so he's probably iffy for Friday as well. So we got dinged up a little bit in the secondary.
Anybody coming back from injuries?
Reinhardt's back.
Offensive line, right?
Yes, he's back on the offensive line, and so he'll be starting. And
what about LeMaster? Is he still?
LeMaster's not back yet, and Stephen James is still out. So we'll see. I think Rhino's the only one who got back this week.
Good. Offense, defense, special teams.
Offensive player was Jared Cook. Or no, I'm sorry, it was Andrew Pollock. Jared was I gave him the Applebee's player of the week at school. Andrew Pollock. Andrew's doing a nice job. He's playing right guard. He's a big kid. He's got a broken thumb. He's broke his cast each of the last 2 or 3 weeks, and he has to miss. He's late for practice today because he was getting a new cast put on.
Wow.
He just keeps playing. He's really getting better and better, and he's excited about it, and he's starting to see some progress, and I think believe that he can really be a really good offensive lineman for us. So, he did a nice job. Defensively, it was Jesse, with his big play with the interception for a score, and then special teams Chris Kaler, who's kept working his kicking and finally showed.
How did the JV and freshman teams do this week?
JV got beat 14-0. Field conditions weren't real good over there on Saturday, but we're kind of shorthanded on the offensive line at JV level. So we got some kids that are, really not offensive linemen that are playing there, and it's kind of hampering their efforts. Freshmen got beat, I think it was 22-0 by Northwest. So it was a tough week for us. But they're still working at it, and I see improvement in those young kids. And freshman game we were losing to Loveland 14-7 after the first quarter tonight, but Loveland's freshmen are maybe the best freshman team we'll play other than Lakota West.
Wow. So
they're pretty good.
Is there ever a time where you might put a freshman on the JV team?
We really haven't, unless we had to last year, although we had Broman and Jake Lackner and a couple other kids, I think, because we were short on linemen. We had to move them up, and they just played in the game. for a quarter or two. If we get any more injuries on our offensive line, we might have to look at something like that. But it was even worse last year, I think. So, it's tough sometimes. You have 5 offensive linemen for a game, and one of them gets hurt. Now you're down to 4, and you can take a defensive lineman and put him in there, but he doesn't really know everything, and they're sitting there, the guys next to him are telling him what to do every play. I mean, it's not the best way to go about it, but sometimes you have to.
Let's go ahead and talk about this week's game at Loveland, first league game of the year and of the last season of the FAVC.
Yeah.
And usually every year you look in and you think, well, it's going to be Anderson and Winton Woods and Anderson. But this year it looks pretty much wide open, the league does.
It is. I don't think our league's done real well out of league play early in the year. Winton Woods 1-4, we're 2-3. Loveland's 2-3. I think Milford's
I don't even know.
2-3.
Yeah.
Harrison's.
Glenesty might be the.
Glenesty, I think, is 3-2.
I think they're the only team above 500.
Yeah. So, and that hurts us down the road for the playoff points. We don't get as many. But, I think the league's real balanced. I think Harrison's playing real well for their new coach. And Loveland's lost 3 games, but they lost to, Kings, who might be the best Division II team in the state, or definitely in the top 5. Mm-hmm. They lost to Oak Hills, and they lost to Lebanon. So they've lost to some quality opponents. And then they beat Mount Healthy and Turpin. So
they come into this game after playing Mount Healthy last week, a team you scrimmaged before the season, and it was a real defensive battle. They won 13-7. Not a lot of yards in that game.
Yeah, well, they, Loveland kind of controlled the game on the ground, and they can do that, and that's one thing we have to guard against. We have to be able to play the run this week, because otherwise they'll just keep the football all night long and keep running it. That Peters kid is a good running back for them, and they've got some big offensive linemen, and Coach Marlette does a good job with the scheme. So, that's a challenge for us.
I was looking at the stats on the FAVC website. Mount Healthy only got 4 first downs in that game, and they only had 60 total offensive yards.
Yeah,
Really?
they didn't play very well at night, and I don't know. Their game was at Mount Healthy, and it was on turf. It wasn't an issue of a bad field or anything like that. I don't know if they had some guys that were out or what was going on, but Loveland played really well and put it on.
Let's talk a little bit about their offense. You said Peters is one guy who's got 581 yards rushing, but they also got a quarterback that's pretty good in Terry. I think he has like 451 yards rushing. So they got a pretty decent balanced attack.
Yeah, they'll run, almost always have a tight end, sometimes 2. They run some wing sets and run a lot of isolation plays and off tackle and give you a variety of formations and shifts. They'll flop the tight end from one side to the other and then motion a guy back and do a lot of things. So we've just got to line up and make sure we're in good spots and ready to play and keep our pad level low so we can hopefully win the line of scrimmage and control the run.
They scored 45 in that first game against Turpin, and then they've only scored 45 since. So they've kind of came down a little bit offensively. Is that kind of a worry to you that they go from that to?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, first game of the year, it's hard to say, how things are going to go, and it's kind of a shootout with Turpin. The game was tied in the third quarter. I think it was 28-all, and then Loveland scored 2 late touchdowns. They had 13 against Oak Hills, who has some good players, and I don't know what the score was exactly, but King's defense is really good, and I think Kings beat them. I
don't think they scored
30-2 maybe.
Yeah, it was like
20-2, and they're so that's not a real good indicator either of what they can do offensively. So we have to definitely play well.
Talk about a little bit about their defense. I know they've got I don't know if I think he's a lineman. Is it Maynor or Joe Maynor or what's his?
Moran. He's
yes.
kind of an outside linebacker for them. And he's a big kid. I think he had some older brothers that were really good players, and we definitely have to know where he is. And he's a physical kid, and they've always played good defense against us. It seems like they've got some good stuff they're doing, and their kids play hard, and so we're going to have to execute what we want to execute, and like I said earlier, take care of the football, throw it when we need to, and be effective. Obviously rushing the football.
Has anything changed with them defensively? Is it pretty much the same thing?
It's pretty similar. Yeah, pretty similar to what they've done in the past.
Okay.
Yeah.
keys of the game? Obviously, turnovers again, probably.
Yeah,
big.
I think for us, it's always got to be turnovers. You know, and then I think another key is we're going to have to be able to stop their running game and handle their play action passing, and so that we can get off the field. And you know, time of possession, the more opportunities we give our offense, the better off we're going to be. Obviously, special teams is important. We're improving in that area, but you know, it's still not what I would call a real strength of our team. We're working at it, but it's not where it needs to be. So it's going to be. I think it's going to be a good ball game.
All right, we're going to get into the Anderson Football Alumni Association, and we talk about it every week. And just really, it's a really neat thing. And we this week we were fortunate enough to have John Holmes come in town from Colorado. He's a former player, graduated in 1985. Got to be on the field. He really enjoyed it. We were trying to ask. We wanted to ask you. Did he get to call a play? Or
I don't know if he did or not. We offered it to him. We gave him a play card. We gave him the sheet, the game plan, and explained it to him and what the numbers meant and everything. And I'm not sure if he actually gave one the cookie or not. Well, you know, in all the years we've done that.
Yeah.
You know, he tells me it was?
He called it
A fake punt.
Oh, okay.
That's what he tells me.
Yeah.
He said, I told him do something like Boise State, do something fancy. And he said that was it. I'm like, well, that's a good way to guess.
Okay. And I briefly saw him after the game and stuff. But in all the years we've had that, I'm not sure anybody's taking advantage of wanting to call one play. You know, but it's a neat thing, and he's been a great supporter. You know, in a short time he's been involved with us, and hopefully he continues that and is excited about Anderson football.
He really is, and so that's something that we would like to do for the Alumni Association. Anybody out there too, we're always looking for interviews for halftime. We love to get interviews from former players, and we put it on at halftime, and a lot of people really seem to like that and catch up with the former players and what they're doing. So if you're out there, you can drop me an email at usbnsports@yahoo.com. We'll get you on an interview, have you on at halftime, and if you have any other questions, you can contact Coach Jeff Giesing or John Raymond, and you know, anything that you guys can do to try to bring everybody back together. And I think that's a big start with John coming in town. That was really neat.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. And he had a great time. His wife was with him, and then I think he went to the Ohio State game the next day. Took you along.
Yes,
so
he did. Yeah.
You had a big
I
weekend
got it.
too.
Yes, I did.
You know, I got to see Andrew Norwell play, and it's just fun to have people that are excited and want to be around.
Yeah, it really was. It was a neat thing.
Okay. Let's go ahead and wrap it up, but let's thank the folks who make this broadcast and our game broadcast possible. The folks up here at Anderson Community Television, Andy and Shane, all the rest of them, we appreciate the use of their studio, their equipment, and their air times, and we obviously wouldn't be doing it if not for them. I have the air times. I just want to read them through them again. It's Mondays at 4 o'clock p.m., Wednesdays at 6 a.m. and at 8 p.m., Fridays 11:30 p.m., Saturdays at 4 p.m., and Sundays at 4:30 p.m. Those are great time slots.
My favorite ones are 6 a.m.
Yeah.
When I get to do my exercise.
Is it Pop-Tarts or Cheerios? What are you going with there?
Oh, more than that. That's not enough.
Both.
Yeah. And remember, if you can't make a game, and we're getting more and more people listening to us every week, if you can't make a game or you know someone out of town, all the games are on live on usbnsports.com. And you know, I talked to like 6 different people this past week that were listening to the Turpin game from all over the place. So we're getting more and more people listening, and it's a great thing to know that there's people out there listening and are interested in the program and interested in how the team is doing.
Right.
Well, and the thing that's really, really neat is Don Marcello, who I played with, was going up to Michigan, and he had an app on his phone. And he got to put the phone down and listen to us as he's going up to Michigan.
Oh.
That is really cool that they can sit there and listen to the game. So he was emailing me as he's driving up to Michigan to tell us, you know, that he could hear us. And so it's just neat to hear from former players that I've played with or that I know from, you know, back when Vince was coaching, you were coaching.
Right.
And it's just a really, really neat thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
And there's nothing better than getting an email during the game saying we're listening from wherever they were. So anyway, we appreciate it. Just tell folks that you think might be interested that they can listen to us if they can't make a game, like this week when we're at Loveland. I also want to thank John Raymond, who's doing a great job as our sideline reporter. And this week he will make his he will go from the sidelines up to take my place. I won't be there for the game Friday night, but he will be in the booth with Dan, and we'll see how that goes.
New duties, and he might have to pull off the camera too at the same time. So I don't know. That's going to be a lot to ask of him. Well,
I know that Ed Barth, our spotter, is going to be there, and Steve Martin, our stat man.
We'll be there.
It's going to be there. You didn't say it. It's going to be there. So, and those are guys, again, I say it every week, but we've been doing this for 21 years, and those guys don't ask a penny. They just do it because they're interested in the program, and we enjoy watching the Anderson football program week in and week out. So
I appreciate it.
It's fun to do. So, Coach, good luck this week.
Thanks. It's going to be a good ball game.
The first league game, hopefully come out with a win and even at 3-3 for the year.
Yeah, and you know, we're kind of back in the playoff picture a little bit, and hopefully we can get this win, get some more points, and it's over a Division I team, and kind of just keep climbing, but we don't have a lot of room for error anymore. You know, we may have to win them all to get in, but we can't win them all until we win this one. So
it starts with this one.
We got to play well.
Okay, so for Dan Alvarez, Jeff Giesing, I'm Greg Ellis. Thanks for joining us on Redskin Review.